Welcome to an episode of One Question with Uptop Health, where our experts dig deeper on the topic at hand.
Hi, welcome to One Question with Uptop Health. And today we're going to review the article, How to Run a Successful Design Thinking Workshop Remotely. And the question I had after reading this article is, what are the three biggest obstacles to running a successful remote design thinking workshop? And Deborah, could you lead us off, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. So I think the first thing that came to mind is one of the first things you have to do when starting a sprint is assembling the team. And we often recommend having about 5 to 8 people from the client side participate in the sprint. And that can sometimes be a challenge for clients to pick who those people are going to be, and we often get pushback to include more people. And one of the big things about a sprint is that it's all about focus. And the more participants that you have, the conversation can become harder to steer, and then you increase the risk of getting, too much content that you just can't stay on time. And so we really, recommend having 5 to 8 people, people who maybe work on the execution, people with knowledge on the subject, someone who's an expert on the customer or user, and then an executive or a decision maker who can help to make decisions for the team. And then we also have the opportunity to bring in subject matter experts during certain sections of the workshop. So that way you get, all the different viewpoints that you want, but you're still able to kind of stay on task. And that kind of brings me to my next, the next hardest thing, I think, would just be the timing, especially when you're working remote. And so what we've done is to set aside time when we do our UX strategy sprint. We have a week or two set up for intake. And so that helps us to get up to speed on the problem space. We're reviewing the existing research, conducting user interviews if needed. And then we create a draft of the journey map ahead of time. So that way, when we start the actual workshop, we have that kind of done, and then we can just jump in into the critical parts of the flow and kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. And we found that really helps to accelerate the process to really make the most of our time during the workshop. And then we also have, we have someone, a facilitator from our end, running the different activities, and then also a person dedicated to tech support, which is really helpful. So that way there's not these kind of interruptions throughout the workshop, helping people, with their setup. And then one of the other things is just to keep, I think, for participants, is just keeping an open mind and trusting the process, because certain exercises are going to push people outside of their comfort zone, specifically the ideation section, when we're asking folks just to sketch and draw. And for some people, that's maybe not something that they do very often. And but we found that by involving, these people in the process, we get just great ideas, because you're the ones that are connected, actually to the process more closely. And, it's just a great way to involve everyone in the process. And then I think what comes along with that is just having that collaboration. And having everyone included, it helps to bring people along so that they feel like they're part of the solution, and brings alignment in the team around targeting the areas and what solution to move forward with. What about you, Mike? Do you have additional thoughts?
Yeah, Deborah, you basically chose all the ones that I was going to say. If I had to add anything, and it just kind of touches on some of the things you've already talked about, but having the required people present. And there's different, what I mean by that is that sometimes some of these folks, even though you plan to have them present, they actually drop off last minute. And it could be a variety of reasons. It could be meetings, it could be they just can't make it that day, but it usually happens like right before you're about to start the workshop or during the workshop. They say, oh yeah, I got this unplanned meeting with my boss, I have to go attend. And so it makes it a little bit difficult not having the right hat in the room, in the virtual room per se. And this could apply to in-person as well. But it could be a little bit challenging, but you get by. I think it would be probably more difficult if it was the decider who was the one who had to drop out and you had to make those kind of decisions. But like I said, we do our best to get by. Another thing is one of the exercises that we do is called the art museum, or, you know, I like to simplify and just call it homework. We typically assign homework, and it's not an obstacle per se, but there's a good portion of folks who, you know, typically, like back in the day, back in school, they don't like to do homework. And so it makes it a little bit challenging sometimes when you get a good enough number who maybe doesn't do the homework. And so it makes collaboration a little bit, I wouldn't say a little bit harder. It's always great to have a lot of diverse ideas. And when folks don't come to the table with those ideas, kind of sucks a little bit of the energy out of the room. But like I said, we always have, you know, backup plans, and, you know, ours, you know, is participating when we know that, you know, this might happen, or if, especially when the client doesn't have, you know, the design resource on their end. I know we usually tend to supply that energy from our side. And then, you know, you touched on technology, definitely is a thing. Sometimes the most basic things of signing up for an account just to use a collaboration tool is a really, really hard thing for folks. But again, it's life. We definitely, you know, try to come up with, you know, plans to get through all of these things. But hey, you know, it is what it is, right?
For sure.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.